The things I've seen to make this video will haunt me for the rest of my life. Welcome back everyone, it's Reggie GigaChad, and I hope you're ready to join me on today's journey of discovery, which is mathematically the best Pokemon. And of course, who knows more about their children than their father? And we're not talking about Mew or Arceus, as this isn't mathematically which is the best Pokemon, we're talking about the father of modern mathematics, Descartes. So let's take a look at Descartes' most famous quote: "I think, therefore I am." Sure, its true meaning has been argued throughout history, but I think here we've cracked it. So let's look at his name, Descartes. Break it down, Descartes. Carte is French for cards. He's clearly talking about his Pokemon card collection. So let's overanalyze the quote a little bit. I am. Well, what is he? A Pokemon fan that loves maths and philosophy. He's clearly a furry. So now we've cleared that up, we can look at his choice of words. By saying I am, he clearly implies an I am not does exist. So this gives us two choices, or as Descartes would put it, a choice ratio of 1 to 1. One of course being I am a furry, and one of course being I am not a furry. So let's apply this ratio to the Pokemon community. Or, for the sake of simplicity, we have 50% furries and 50% non-furries. So for the purpose of this, we're going to speak about 5 different furry Pokemon. Lopunny, Gardevoir, Lucario, Braixen, and Incineroar. The honourable mentions of course go to Vaporeon and Primarina. Oh, speaking of Vaporeon, did you know? FBI, open up! So using our 50% furry rate of I am in whether a person is a furry or not comes into play here. We will call our group of 7 Pokemon Group A, or Furry Bait, and our group of the other, almost, 1,010 Pokemon Group B, or regular Pokemon doing their hardest not to get sexually harassed. Keeping our ratio of 1 to 1, this means that our 7 Pokemon are equal to the other 1,010, or that one Group A Pokemon is equivalent to just over 144 Pokemon in Group B. And while Pokemon like Pikachu, Charizard and Gengar are some of the most popular in the franchise, they can be estimated at around 10 times as popular as other Pokemon, so they're nowhere near the level of Group A's 144 times. So for this, we can make the argument that Group B's Pokemon can be removed from the data pool. So now we're left with 7 Pokemon, and if you remember, 2 were only considered honourable mentions, so we can remove both Primarina and Vaporeon from the running. And just like that, we're down to 5. So for this, we're going to have to get a bit more picky when it comes to the numbers. After all, we are proving which Pokemon is mathematically the best, so we're going to have to bring up stat totals. Coming in with the highest base stat total is Incineroar with a stat total of 530, followed by Lucario with a stat total of 525, then it's Gardevoir with a stat total of 518, then Lopunny with a stat total of 480, and rounding us out is Braixen with a total of 409. Now of course, Braixen is a mid-stage evolution, so it's going to be low on the list. Unfortunately, this does not stop Braixen from being eliminated.
Unanimously, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
So next up we're going to mention typing. So one major advantage of having a fully evolved Pokemon is dual typing. Many fully evolved Pokemon have a secondary typing, which most of the time add the layer of usefulness and viability, and only 3 of the 4 of our top spots have a secondary typing, leaving us Murko, the rabbit hero, with only a singular typing, normal, which is arguably the worst, or one of the worst, typings in the game. Whilst it does have immunity to Ghost, it doesn't hit any typing super effectively, and with power creeping Pokemon, a stab neutral return with a base stat total of 480 just doesn't cut it anymore. And there you have it, we're down to 3. Before we continue, I just want to say I do love all of the designs of the 7 Pokemon in Group A, it's just we have to eliminate them to get to the last one standing. There's so much thought that goes into designing every single one of them. Actually, the interesting thing is there are 34 rules that go into designing each one, and if you're interested in that any further, just go into Google and search furry Pokemon rule 34 and you'll find exactly what you're looking for. The last 3 are actually very difficult to choose from. With stats only being 12 points between them, the difference is negligible. One of the things we could consider would be Mega Evolution, but 1, that wouldn't be fair to Lopunny, and 2, Nintendo have already decided to abandon Mega Evolution, like my parents wish they could do to me, so let's ignore it. But let's stick to that point of things no longer existing. One of these Pokemon is not obtainable in the newest generation without the use of Pokemon Home, and as that's a paid feature, I'm going to ignore it. If you guessed Incineroar, you'd be correct. If Nintendo decided Incineroar was no longer worth our love, how can we in good faith give him the title of the best Pokemon? Now, I really like Incineroar, so I'm going to send him off with this quote that I found about him. Daddy cat, meow meow. And I think that's something we can all relate to on a personal level. Right, moving on. Gardevoir or Lucario? Who's it gonna be? So weirdly, when I was researching this, I thought I already knew which was the most popular of the two Pokemon, and I thought it was Lucario. But oddly, Gardevoir actually has more Google searches a month at 158,400, while Lucario's searched at 126,200. What about viability in battle? Gardevoir's Fairy Psychic type offers it 3 resistances and 1 immunity, which isn't bad. However, it's completely annihilated by Lucario's insane 8 resistances and 1 immunity. So for the last round, we're going to throw it over to talk about something we haven't mentioned yet, the TCG. Cards are often printed based on the demand from the community and popularity of the Pokemon, which is why there is a Charizard in literally every set. Even though it's actually a generation older, Gardevoir has had 49 different appearances in the TCG to Lucario's insane 65. So there we go, you heard it here. Through the use of maths and with the help of Descartes, we have proved once and for all that Lucario is mathematically the best Pokemon. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll be back with you really soon.